As your police chief, I'm often asked, what are the good times and what are the bad times being the chief of police? I can tell you that every year, the good times is coming here to kick off the Summer G.R.E.A.T program.
On June 18th, the Community Services Division of the Milwaukee Police Department hosted the kickoff of the 8th annual G.R.E.A.T Summer Program.
This program started in 1993 with the Milwaukee Police Department being involved in this innovative endeavor. The goal of the G.R.E.A.T program is to offer students opportunities to enhance their skills and to make students aware of alternatives to gang involvement.
175 middle school students are taking part in this year's program. Many more wanted to. Over 450 had applied. During the school year, officers visit the youngsters in their schools. And even in the summer program, the kids spend some time in the classroom.
We know how our children are, and sometimes they make mistakes, hang out with the wrong people. Well, nobody is saying, and we talk about yesterday, nobody said that anybody deserves to die. But you are responsible for your choices in life. You cannot blame anybody.
Teaching choices and consequences, the officers focus on topics such as conflict resolution, goal setting and decision making, how to say no to drugs and gangs, and resist peer pressure.
And we basically go through and start off the course with explaining to them what a gang is. Any group of people whose members regularly engage in illegal activity. Keywords being regularly and keyword being illegal. We work on conflict resolution as a big part of the course, where we give them a 6-step course on how to identify what a problem is, determine what the consequences are, and give them ways to solve the problem without resorting to violence. And 175 kids who successfully completed the school curriculum are now having an opportunity to do our 6-week summer component, which we spent a whole lot of time telling them, don't do this, don't do that. Now we're giving them some great alternative activities that they can get involved in.
Activities in the G.R.E.A.T Summer Program include community service, allowing the youngsters an opportunity to give something back to the community. Here they're helping out at Family House, a community-based residential facility on North 11th Street. 45 seniors live here. The kids also spend some time with the elderly residents.
Well, first of all, the residents simply love children. You know, it's a win-win combination. Our residents tell stories of the old days when they rode horses down south. The kids today talk about going to school and going out doing different field trips. So everybody wins. They share ideas and they share past and experiences.
It's not all work in the G.R.E.A.T Summer Program. If the youngsters complete the community service projects and classroom sessions, they're rewarded each week with a field trip to a Brewer game, horseback riding, the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, and other activities. That's the idea of the summer session: fun and education.
I learned that you shouldn't do drugs because it can kill you, and it causes so many like heart disease and liver cancer and every single kind of cancer. You shouldn't join gangs because they get in trouble with the police a lot and everything like that.
I think the G.R.E.A.T program is fine because, I mean, like we're working for the elders, and I mean, it's kind of fun hanging around with all these other kids and everything.
What kinds of things have you learned in the program?
Well, helping people, doing other things, like different kinds of activities.
Another community service activity involves stenciling storm drains, the iron sewer grates that collect rainwater from our streets. In most areas of the city, storm drains lead directly to our rivers and Lake Michigan. The message in this stenciling education project: dump no waste, protect your water. The students also took the reduce pollution message to each home, dropping off a door hanger with information on keeping our waterways clean.
We're just going around, like, cleaning up the sewers and stuff, putting signs down saying, don't dump your waste, protect your water, stuff like that. Keeping the streets clean, basically.
We've had a lot of real good success stories. One of the things with a program like this, it's hard to measure it because the kids who don't get in trouble, we don't wind up seeing them a lot of times. However, it's nice when a kid says, you know, because this officer or that officer did this, or somebody took a little bit of time with me, you know, I kind of was able to stay on the right track. And that's how we are able to measure it, you know. And I always ask people, you know, what is the price of one child? And, you know, in my mind, it's absolutely priceless.
The 175 kids in this year's Gang Resistance, Education, and Training, the G.R.E.A.T summer program, will graduate on August 2nd, and they'd recommend it to anyone.
It's great!
Cooler, paper plates, hamburger, hot dogs. You have a lot of things at a picnic, probably including a group of assorted microorganisms. Treated improperly, some foods can be health hazards.
Potentially hazardous foods are usually high-protein foods like meat or poultry, fish, anything with dairy products like milk or eggs in it. So that would include all of the things that you put on the grill, plus some of the salads that you make.
Keeping the hot hot and the cold cold is among the major rules for food safety at your picnic or backyard barbecue. Keep your hands clean. Avoid cross-contamination.
Cross-contamination occurs between different types of food, and it occurs between you getting something on your hands and putting it on ready-to-eat food. So hand washing is important because if I'm out playing with the football or petting the dog or playing on swing sets, I want to be sure to wash my hands because I don't know what I have on my hands from those objects. I also want to pack all my perishable foods in a cooler with plenty ice. The more full the cooler is with ice, the better, because it'll stay colder. I want to take my raw foods, my meats, my poultry, my fish, anything that is potentially hazardous, and wrap it really tight in plastic so that those juices don't drip on my vegetables or my salads or any fruit that I may have packed in there. Those are the juices that will contain the bacteria. There could be salmonella or E. coli or campylobacter. And when you cook the meat or the poultry, you're going through a kill step. So you kill the bacteria and you don't ingest it. If it drips onto an apple and my child takes the apple and bites into it, there's a possibility that there will be enough bacteria on there that they'll get sick.
It's a good idea to have separate coolers for food and drink, and don't use the ice from the food cooler to chill your drink. Once the food is out of the cooler, there are other precautions.
A very important thing to remember is that when you grill, the food turns brown rapidly. It looks like it's done, but it's not done. The internal temperature may not be up to the point where the bacteria are killed. So most people should bring a thermometer and use this thermometer in their home and when they're out at picnic grounds. The temperature you want to take is ground meat, ground turkey and ground chicken, 160 degrees. Steak or roast, medium rare would be 145. Medium about 160. Whole poultry should be cooked to 180, just so you know that all the parts of it are done. So I want to keep my salads at 40 degrees, I want to keep my meat at 40 degrees, and then after I cook the meat on the grill, once it's up to its temperature, then I want to hold that at 140 degrees. And you can do that by just taking the cooked meat and putting it to the side on the grill top.
And other precautions: completely thaw meat and poultry before grilling. Use the refrigerator. Microwave defrost only if the food will be grilled immediately. Marinate food in the refrigerator and don't reuse the sauce. You've got control over what you barbecue, but what about all those food festivals around town?
Every weekend in summer you can find a city inspector out checking everything with their thermometer, making sure people have hats on, checking for sanitary situations, that hands are washed. We go to all church festivals. We go to all the festivals sponsored by groups at the Summerfest grounds and any street festivals.
Symptoms of foodborne illnesses can range from a mild upset stomach to cramps, vomiting, diarrhea, chills, or fever. Foodborne illnesses can be serious to the young, old, and those with immune problems, and should be reported to the health department. You can take foods to your picnic that don't require refrigeration, but follow some simple food safety rules, and you won't have to worry about some bacteria spoiling your picnic fun.
Safely, usually the rule is, if I put out a buffet, I can leave potentially hazardous foods and salads out approximately 2 hours at room temperature. At that time, it should either be put away in the refrigerator or discarded. If I'm in a picnic situation and I have food out at 90 degrees, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and when in doubt, throw it out.
The Bayview poster depicts the ornamental windows that adorn some older Bayview homes. Only minutes away from downtown via the Hone Bridge and the Lake Parkway, the neighborhood lists views of Lake Michigan and the downtown skyline among its highlights. The community traces its origin to Elijah Estes, who staked out 150 acres of farmland.
The name Bayview is associated with his wife, and apparently she said we should name this place Bayview, and that's how it got started. At least that's the way the tales go.
In 1878, Elijah built this home at the corner of what is now Estes and South Shore Drive. It's a local historic landmark.
Our family's been here. Our kids would be the 5th generation. They're the first ones to move out, but they didn't get too far away. But my great-grandparents came here from England to work in the mills.
The mills, starting with the Milwaukee Iron Company in 1867, transformed the neighborhood into an industrial community. By 1873, it was the largest employer in Milwaukee with more than 2,000 workers. Steel workers were recruited from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. They were called puddlers, skilled in converting pig iron into wrought iron, which is called puddling. A state historical marker designates the site of the former iron company at Russell and Superior.
In order to keep the employees, there were many cottages built that the steel mill owned, and well, you know how the old song goes, you owe it to the company, company store. Well, that's sort of the way it went.
The small one-story cottages built by the company for mill workers were called puddlers' cottages. Many survive, updated, and often expanded. Built by the Welsh in 1873, this is the oldest surviving church structure built by Milwaukee iron employees. Bayview roughly spans from Lincoln Avenue to Oklahoma, Lake Michigan to Howell. It includes an area south to the city of St. Francis called Fernwood. The neighborhood has its own historical society, looking for a place of its own, but currently meeting in the attic of the Beulah Brinton Community Center. Over 20 years old, it has a membership of 500 present and former Bayview residents from 18 states.
There's an awful lot of interest now in the history of neighborhoods, as you would know. Our information is geared just to Bayview area. And we have people that are doing papers on the history of Bayview or history of Milwaukee neighborhoods, and they come here and use it, and hopefully we can find what they need.
Well, how else would the generations coming up know about the area? You know, everything has changed so much. I was born just south of Oklahoma Avenue on what at that time was called Sheridan Avenue, this town of Lake. We had a dirt road and wooden sidewalks in front of our house. Oklahoma Avenue was a dirt road also, and that was just beginning to be improved.
This building on St. Clair Street was built in 1867 by the steelworkers. Then called Puddlers Hall, it served as a meeting place for social events and union activities. The mill workers played a major role in development of organized labor in this country, fighting in 1886 for an 8-hour day with no cut in pay. That led to bloodshed, as we heard in a previous City Channel program.
There was a very persistent effort to improve conditions, and the militia was called out to quell demonstrations, and 5 people were killed by the National Guard in a march on the Bayview Rolling Mill back on the morning of May 5th, 1886. It was the bloodiest labor disturbance in Wisconsin's history.
Kinnickinnick Avenue, which follows the course of an old Indian trail, has been the major commercial district of the neighborhood. There's a mix of new and established businesses, and with city help, some improvements to the business district.
But we have had a redevelopment of KK to an extent, slow, but there has been a change. There's been grants given for building improvements. There's been other small businesses going in. Bayview is becoming a little bit trendy with little restaurants and so on and so forth. But some people think it's wonderful and some people don't.
The homes in Bayview are diverse, like this neighborhood's residents. Owners have seen rising value as newcomers, both blue-collar and professional, discover the area. Bayview was a village beginning in 1879, but was annexed to Milwaukee only 8 years later. As in other communities, churches established in the 1870s are prominent visual landmarks. Other landmarks include the Elizabethan-style Bayview High School, the popular Pryor Street Iron Well, the city's first artesian well, Humboldt Park, dating to 1890, one of the city's first parks. South Shore Park has always drawn people, including this group of youngsters in 1920. And the Avalon, Milwaukee's first theater built exclusively for talking motion pictures. The Bayview Historical Society meets in a corner of the second floor of the Beulah Brinton Community Center on Bay Street. Beulah Brinton, a cousin of the steel mill's owner, lived in this home at Superior and Pryor Streets, now 130 years old.
She was responsible for starting one of the first social centers in the United States, not just in Milwaukee, but in the United States. And she would, a lot of the workers that came to work in the mill, she would do library skills with the kids and read books to them and have like a small group of children at her house. And I can remember my grandmother talking about the fact that she had ice cream socials at her house.
Bayview is a stable neighborhood, and residents say it's a big city neighborhood with a small city character.
Well, Bayview is actually almost like an island of its own here until the Hone Bridge came through, and it's always been noted for being friendly.
Well, I would say you know all your neighbors, or a good many of the neighborhoods do in Bayview, but basically I guess it's a small town atmosphere.